So you didn't understand Chainsaw Man. I figured we'd get a bunch of people saying that the ending of Chainsaw Man Part 2 was complete garbage because what was the point? Dennis, he just kept making the same mistakes. Was he ever gonna learn his lesson? This is ridiculous. No, he wasn't gonna learn his lesson because he kept falling for women. He kept falling for same chaotic situations to make his life feel like something. He was an addict. Loving Chainsaw Man is the same as loving somebody that is going through addiction. It's the same exact feeling, exact way, because you're loving something that fundamentally isn't going to have a good endpoint. Now, I think the Chainsaw Man Part 2 ending was great. I thought it was fun. I thought it was fantastic. Imagine if the addiction that you loved took itself out of the equation. Imagine you did the League of Legends, and League of Legends went offline, so you gotta go outside. Imagine if you're addicted to maybe some illicit substance, and then the illicit substance simply ceased to exist. How would your life be? Would it be fun? Maybe you're addicted to causing arguments, but what if you actually went to anger management classes? But anger didn't exist in this world. What Pochita did was take himself out of the story. So I'm going to talk about the ending. If you just want to hear me yap, then you can just hear me yap, but I got a lot to say. So this is going to be a pretty long video. Not a lot of pictures on screen. Sorry, I know. But I'm going to explain the ending. So it looks very careless at first when you first look at it. It's chaotic. Someone threw a handful of pages in the air and walked away and said, "There goes your ending, Chainsaw Man. Hope you enjoy it." But the longer you sit with it, the more deliberate it becomes. I reread the chapter about 10 times. I finally understand everything. It is painfully deliberate. That's what it is. People keep circling it, saying, "What did it mean? Why did Denji want to sleep with Asa? He knows he's an assaulter. He's a predator." No, he's a teenage boy who had a girl who liked him, and he's never been betwixt the sheets before. He's never thought he could actually get there. So that's what he had. That's the whole thing. No, he's a danger. He's evil. No, he's a teenage boy is what he is. I know a lot of people want to make him seem evil. A lot of people are just painting him in his wild narrative. But this is what Denji wants. Denji is the city mouse. This was always a narrative that chews its own limbs just to see if it can still crawl forward. That is how the narrative works. Pochita eating himself was the most precise kind of narrative violence imaginable. A total removal of the story's own heartbeat, literally. The decision to erase the thing that made everything else possible so that what remains can fully exist without being constantly distorted by it. It's terrifying, because it means everything that came before it was never stable to begin with. Look at the stability we got. Denji is an accomplished devil hunter. Power is seemingly happy with Denji. They're enjoying their stupid doopy conversations. Makima isn't there to destroy and take and rattle everything in front of their face. They're basically just doing exactly what they're supposed to do, being devil hunters. I love the line. There's a line in Chainsaw Man in the beginning where Aki is on top of a devil and he says, "Don't touch the devil, the blood is poisonous, everybody evacuate." Denji says that same exact thing. Denji is doing protocol. Same as Aki. Denji has fulfilled the role of Aki, but is significantly better at it because he's not driven by revenge. He's driven by the purpose for the excitement of the city because he finally gets it. When Chainsaw Man removes himself from existence, there's no explosion of the world. Every concept that he had doesn't magically come back. Everybody wants all these answers. I think a great narrative is one that can rarely explain itself and still give cohesion to it. You don't want the author to explain a story too well. That's how we got midi-chlorians in Dragon Ball Z. Sorry, let me phrase that better. Midi-chlorians in Star Wars. I was thinking about S-cells in Dragon Ball Z. You know how that tingly feeling on a Super Saiyan's back makes him go Super Saiyan? Oh, that is a tingly feeling and it goes zoom zoom pow. Remember that? You don't want narrative explanations from the author. It is better to leave it to ambiguity because the mystery of a situation creates an allure to draw for theory crafting, which makes conversation never die out. That is amazing. There is no central force dragging everyone into conflict because Chainsaw Man is gone. No gravitational force living to intersect in violence and poetic ways to explain the narrative. Without that force, everything just becomes life again. Slow, indifferent, unremarkable. Denji is no longer the chaotic sender, no longer a creature pulled into longer narratives. He becomes something smaller, human. The Yakuza's gone. The debts are gone. He's still in debt to power because power gives him blood. He has habits. He's a hunger that cannot be satisfied by grand purpose anymore because that purpose was erased along with the thing that justified it. he is not Chainsaw Man. He's a man with a chainsaw. That's what he is. Thanks, Chainsaw Man, Asa says to Denji. And Denji says, what'd you call me? What? Say that again. Fantastic Four. Say that again. Say that again. That's what it is. I'm going to answer a few questions that a lot of people have. A lot of people have these questions, and I've discovered the answer to them because people don't read. Where's Aki? Aki never walks the road towards becoming a devil hunter because Makima didn't manipulate him into becoming a devil hunter. Did you realize that? Makima doesn't exist. There's no narrative demand that sacrifices for him at all. Power is no longer tied to the same web of suffering by Makima. She's there literally for Denji. We see that. She's there for Denji. The conditions that created that version of her life don't exist, right? Makima loses her entire reason for being. She wants Chainsaw Man. She is a fan of Chainsaw Man. There's no Chainsaw Man. Makima doesn't really have a reason to do a lot of the stuff she did in the entirety of Chainsaw Man Part 1. It was all to get to Denji's heart. Everything she did was, I need to get the Chainsaw Man. She had been looking for Chainsaw Man. Her entire goal for reasoning, existing, was Chainsaw Man. That's it. Why would Makima be there? Why would Makima be there? That version of the Control Devil, Makima, that was the Chainsaw Man fan. That's who she was. And Yuta is not the Chainsaw Man fan. I imagine, this is a theory, it's me guessing here, this right here is a guess, but I imagine that Makima didn't really need to exist because her devotion twisted into something monstrous and disgusting, whatever it may be, the desire that consumed her to be worship that thing. Without Chainsaw Man, there is nothing for her to chase, nothing to shape her into that terrifying form. So the version of her that existed before simply had no reason to rise into that role at all. That's what it is. I'm sure you have other questions. The idea of hybrids. Well, a lot of hybrids probably don't exist because Chainsaw Man doesn't exist. Controlled monsters, forced identities, all of it fades into that same quiet background because Chainsaw Man's existence was the purpose for all that. The hero of hell. Power still exists because Power is not tied to Chainsaw Man. There's no reason for Power to be tied to Chainsaw Man. She is just Power, the Blood Devil. That's what she is. People still fear blood. That's what it is. Now, what was the point of Chainsaw Man? You may be asking. What was the point of all this? People ask that hollow question. What was the point? Stories are not required to hand you a clean answer wrapped in moral clarity. This is the most human story about demons I've ever seen. The point was never winning or losing or even understanding. It was experiencing the weight of connection in this world of Chainsaw Man that constantly strips meaning away, and then watching what happens when that connection is removed at the root. That's what it is. Think about this. I'll explain it better. Denji has always been a creature of wanting. He's a creature of habit. He wants it, he got to have it. He's not shallow. He's not simple. He's you and me. We're driven by a simple desire. That's it. And we never quite settle. When I reached 100,000 subscribers, I said, I'm going to reach 1 million subscribers. And what will happen when I reach 1 million? 2 million? 5 million? 10 million? Who knows? I don't know. But I'm not there yet. But I have a goal to reach towards. That's Denji's entire existence. You want to get promoted to manager. You want to make $25 an hour. You want to get that house. What happens after the house? You get that wife. What happens after the wife? Maybe kids. What's after kids? Grandchildren. What's after grandchildren? Maybe you want to chase your dreams. Maybe you want to climb Mount Everest. Maybe you want to travel to Japan. Maybe you want to travel to China. Maybe you're going to go to Russia. Maybe you want to become the president. That is Denji's goal. The hedonic treadmill becomes even more visible in a world where the grand narrative has been erased because now there is nothing to distract him from it. Whether he is chasing something small or immediate or something larger and abstract, the core still remains the same. He has a need to belong, to feel something real, to anchor himself in this world that keeps dissolving the moment he thinks he understands it. That's what it is. What the ending does, overall, in a strange, weird, horrifyingly unsettling way, it strips everything down to a core. The core truth that no amount of chaos can erase. No matter how ridiculous the world becomes, no matter how extreme the events around it, people still crave connections in ways that do not make sense and do not resolve cleanly. That craving does not just disappear just because the story removes the thing that once defined it. Think of it for a second. Just imagine this, right? Your addiction's gone. It's gone. Pochita was the addiction. It's gone. Denji doesn't have that. So what does he have now? Wants. He has wants that he has to achieve himself. He cannot rely on Chainsaw Man, cannot be as reckless. He has to live. There's no point of Reze either. I've seen people say, what about Reze? Well, why would Reze be there? Reze was there to get Chainsaw Man's heart. There's no reason. Denji, Reze, Aki, Power, Makima, in her own twisted form, all orbit that same need, that quiet desperation to find something that feels like home. Denji wanted toast, then a family, and he got that, and he was happy with Power and Aki. Reze wanted something. Reze wanted to change Denji from the city mouse to the country mouse. Aki wanted revenge, and he found out that maybe he didn't want revenge. He wanted a family. Power. It's Power. I really don't know what Power wants, to be quite fair with you, but she found family in Denji, and I'm happy about that. Makima wanted to be eaten. She was a fan of Chainsaw Man really badly, so that's what it was. I think the most uncomfortable part for everybody was everybody wants to focus on the absurdity. The absurdity wasn't the point of the story. The devils, the violence, the spectacle, those aren't the core of the story. They were the noise surrounding something much simpler. Life does not need a grand purpose to continue. It just keeps moving forward. Regardless of whether you understand it, regardless of whether the things that once gave it shape still exist, the world without Chainsaw Man is not a better world or a worse one. It is just a world that continues. That continuation, that quiet persistence is the most honest ending this story could have given to anyone. That's what the ending is. It's continuing. And the fact that it leaves it open, we don't have to see more of Power and Denji. We don't have to go on these misadventures. We are happy to know that they are a family. Denji could possibly go speak to Asa and possibly have something with her. You would like Chainsaw Man because it's absurd. You want to see Dennis mess up. You want to see him do something stupid. You want to see him learn from his mistakes, but he never learns. He never learns. Think of the ending that before this ending, think of what we were getting. Denji was so horny. He was so driven by his penis that he said, "You know what? I'm going to destroy the entire world just to get some cheeks." That's what he wanted because he thought it would be somebody that had a connection with him. He just wanted connection real bad. His craving, his innate desire, his lust, his need to be accepted by everybody was just his need to be accepted by everybody. He would do anything just to feel like something. I think of The Menu, a very good movie, by the way, if you've never seen it. I will spend my entire life trying to entertain people who will never be satisfied. That is what the chef says in The Menu. It's an amazing, amazing line. And that is Denji's entire life. He will spend his entire life trying to entertain people who will never be satisfied. And he himself is the people. He is the people he's trying to entertain. People are asking really insane questions saying, well, what's Kobeni's devil? She didn't want to reveal her devil. It was her decision to not reveal her devil, and now you're trying to pry it open out of her. She said, I don't want to reveal my devil. That's secret. That's classified. Don't want to do that. She decided to do that. You don't have to get the answer to that. It's the thing. And it's the same restless need to define everything bleeds into a question of what is Pochita? Everybody says, what is Pochita? I'm going to tell you exactly what Pochita is. Get ready for the biggest Netter reveal of all time. Pochita is not just a devil or a concept or a tool for the plot to move forward or themes and such, you know, all that stuff. They tell you what Pochita is, right? They tell you, right? Am I stupid? Am I dumb? They tell you what he is. Chainsaw Man was the hero of hell. Period. Do you understand what that means? In the most literal and sincere way possible, a being that erased fears themselves. What does a hero do? He erases fears. And the hero of hell, he erases fears. That's what he does. Cuts them out of existence so others would not have to carry them anymore. What was a chainsaw's original purpose? Birthing. He does not birth those fears. The hero of hell functions so those fears do not come into reality. He cuts them out, chainsaws it out, eliminates it. That act alone defines him more clearly than any technical explanation of what is he really? Is he some concept or something? He is somebody. This is what Chainsaw Man is. Someone, I imagine, had an idea, a big idea, where they said, what if we could erase fears in themselves? How do we do that? Well, we need a hero of hell or something. And then that fear brought him into reality. That fear of erasing fears brought him into reality. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know. But a hero does not need to be understood to be real. Pochita Never once asked to be understood. He said he will help Denji with his dreams. Everything he did was already speaking louder than any explanation could ever give to him. The final act of eating himself is the most extreme extension of that same logic, because he realized he wasn't being a hero anymore. He was no longer the hero of hell. He had to be a hero to his best friend. A hero removing his own existence to save the person he cares about from a world that would never stop consuming him otherwise. He didn't just do one saving of Denji. He realized he was the problem. He left. If I'm happy that it's over, can I cry because it happened? I said it backwards on purpose because that's what happened. I'm happy that it's over, and I cried because it happened. That's what happened. He saved him completely. He cut him away from the very system that would have continued to drag him back into the suffering over and over again. That kind of sacrifice is beautiful. It leaves nothing behind to question. It's just really uncomfortable to sit with that logic. So, and then people say, what about Asa? Right? The last character that everyone talk about is Asa. She was saying she was a waste. What was she? Well, she was a waste. No, she wasn't. She was there to be there. She was acting without fully understanding, reaching for control and meaning beyond what was driven by her emotions constantly shifting underneath her. She died. She died and was taken over by a devil. She was never meant to have any control. She got a good ending. She didn't get controlled by the devil. What we were watching with Asa was not a failure to deliver. It was a demonstration. What happens when you move through life guided purely by impulse without the grounding of reflection. She was clumsy. She was a mess up. She didn't need some clarity or victory. That's what it was. Frustrating to deal with, but that's life. How many times in life have you ever had a not clean conclusion where you say, oh, I'll find a lesson in this, and there's no lesson to learn? Ever had that happen? How many times in life have you made the same mistake over and over again? You wish somebody would take the pen away from you. Take the smokes away from you. Take the weed away from you. Take the alcohol away from you. I wish alcohol never existed. What if it didn't? What if it didn't? And that's what Chainsaw Man did. He was a true hero. The hero of the hell of Denji's life. He became that hero. Denji operates on such a different frequency than most people because he is embroidered in his addictions, but his addictions are his hedonic treadmill. He does not overthink. He moves forward. He doesn't go into paralysis. He goes recklessly. He has a few screws loose. And there's something so weird about realizing that Denji and his insatiability is not just a flaw, it's how he's adapted to a world of devils. The very thing that makes him seen as a screw loose is what allows him to function in a world that would break someone more measured. Think of the difference between Aki and Denji. Great character analysis is on YouTube all around. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but Aki overall was somebody that was not fitted to be a devil hunter. He did this out of necessity. Denji, he doesn't care. He just wants to live. He's the perfect devil hunter. He's not smart, he's not the strongest, but he's perfect for his role. All these questions, all these attempts to pin the story down as something more digestible, they start to feel smaller when you step back, when you look at what the story is actually doing. It's refusing to let itself be reduced into a list of answers. Answers that can be easily repeated and understood without effort. Chainsaw Man has always been living inside contradiction. How are you a hero of hell? Doesn't make any sense. It exists inside uncertainty. Inside a world that does not explain itself just because you asked it to. That is Chainsaw Man. The ending leans fully into that, removing the very thing that once gave those questions weight in the first place. You have no reason for these questions now. He's gone. But he still is in the heart of Denji, allowing him to function and allowing him to live. Because despite not being there, he's still there. And then there is only the world. It's continuing. Without a thing that once made it make sense. Without a thing that makes it unbearable, just continuing. Why would Chainsaw Man have a part 3 when Chainsaw Man is gone? Doesn't make any sense. Somewhere in that continuation, Denji is still moving, still hungry, still wanting. And that's us. That's just what comes after. And that's an honest ending. That's what it is. Obviously, you're going to have questions. You want resolutions to a lot of things. But the noise is gone. The revving of the chainsaw no longer exists. It's gone. Nobody wants his heart. Nobody really wants Denji besides those around him. A boy, a hunger, a world that keeps moving. Denji has truly become the hero of his own hell. He's did it. He's done it. This is the best ending we could have ever got. That's what it is. I think people gotta understand. The story was never about the devils or Kobeni's devil or what big. It wasn't about that. It was about what happens when they stop being the point. Chainsaw Man was an amazing story, and it frustrates so many people because it's about somebody that doesn't learn his lesson until the very thing that drives his addiction is taken away from him. I can tell a lot. I know this is not a common thing for a lot of people. That a lot of people don't deal with addicts, right? A lot of people don't deal with people that have addictions to whether they be some illicit substance, something that could kill them. I've dealt with addicts my entire life. I've dealt with people that are on the one where you shoot in your arm. I've dealt with people that are on opiates a lot of the time, right? What happens with those people is that you can explain to them the meaning and why it's bad and all this stuff. And to Dennis, you can explain to him why it all sucks. But here goes the thing. He doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't care. He just wants to keep doing it because it's fun. Take that away from them. They may freak out at first. We saw in the last chapter, Denji freaked out a little bit. But after that, they're going to have to live. Or the world's going to eat them. That's what's going to happen. And Denji lived without Chainsaw Man. He found purpose. And that's amazing. It's more than anyone could ever ask. I'm very happy that he gets a good ending. And I don't want anything else bad to happen to him. That'd be great. That's all I want. Thank you, Tatsumi Fujimoto. You have done an amazing job at exposing people that want answers so deeply that they think you are a horrible author. And he's written himself into a corner. No, he didn't write himself into a corner. I hate defending people that... I hate this so much. Tite Kubo wrote himself, the creator of Bleach, he wrote himself into a corner. That's writing yourself into a corner. I think that Tatsumi Fujimoto just wanted to make a story about what happens when you lean too deeply into your addictions and don't think about the consequences of your action, and so that addiction took itself out. That's what happened. That's what I think. Anyways, tell me what you think about the Chainsaw Man ending. I don't expect you to have this change your mind about the ending at all. I just want to explain it. But I'm out. Peace. Bye.
I'm your nigga night, be my lower, slow. Happy to try what you need.